Good evening. Karolina Hernik, Institute of Agriculture and Economy. I'm very pleased to welcome you today on the first international debate of Institute of Agriculture and Economy, and we will try to discuss the most important topics for the European farmers. Today, we would like to focus on the Dutch situation mostly, and if is this the beginning of the end of European agriculture, and on the tendencies that are slowly leading to the limitation of agriculture in the individual European countries. My guests today are Robert Nowacki, board member of the Warmia-Mazurian Chamber of Agriculture from Poland. Hello,
Welcome.
Robert.
Hello.
Hello. You're very quiet, so maybe you could raise a little bit your voice.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you very quietly. And now we have,
Okay.
Yeah. And we have as well Arnold Korel, who is the head of LSV Mecklenburg-Vorpommern from Germany. Hello, Arnold. Hello. And I've got as well today Sita van Kenpema from the board member of the Farmer Defence Force, and the same time president of the Dutch Dairy Board and the European Milk Board, and the board of the Dutch Zuivel NL from the Netherlands. Hello, Sita.
Hello.
And I've got as well with me Jos Ubels, who is the vice president of Farmer Defence Force from the Netherlands. Hello, Jos.
Hi.
And we're supposed to have as well with us chairman of Lithuania Chamber of Agriculture, Dr. Arūnas Svitojus from Lithuania, but he's got a problem with electricity in whole his town. So he may join us. We all hope for that, but you never know. So what is happening in Netherlands now seems to be nothing more than pushing agriculture out from the Netherlands. There is less and less space for the farmers for their production, and food safety, food sovereignty of individual countries became a secondary issue now. Could what happening in Netherlands become the beginning of such a narrative formulated at the European Union level? And it is not that Europe is supposed to be the place of responsible for the modern technologies of the industries, and we have to import food from outside the European Union. So we would like to, after this small introduction, maybe I will ask Sita to introduce us a little bit in the situation of Dutch farmers and how everything looks there now.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it started in September 2019 when one of our politicians said that we had to reduce 50% of livestock. Then farmers got very angry, so we started rallies and demonstrations. One is very big. It was the 1st of October 2019 when the farmers said we are not going to do that because it's no use. It's really idiotic to say that reducing livestock with 50% would solve problems in environment. After that, we have done a lot of demonstrations and rallies, etc. And now, from the 10th of June 2022, our new Minister of Nitrogen and Nature came with a map of the Netherlands, dividing it up in certain regions around Nature 2000 areas, but also for the rest of the Netherlands. And farmers were confronted with the fact that they had to reduce nitrogen with 11 to 95%. And of course, 11 is even hard, but 95 or 50 or 74% is impossible. So it really looks like they want to sweep farms out of the landscape, and the hunt is for the land. They want to build houses, they want to have industry, they want to have data centers, solar parks, etc., but no farmers anymore in the landscape. So not only the farmers demonstrate since the 10th of June, but also a lot of civilians who back up the farmers, because in the landscape and especially in the land, we as agriculture provide a lot of jobs for everybody around. So in the big cities, maybe they have jobs with other things, but in the land, mostly agriculture provides labor, provides jobs. So that's why we have a lot of demonstrations. We really fight for our future and also the future for our children today.
That's very depressing, to be honest. And maybe you would like to add something else from your perspective.
Yes. Well, actually, you are seeing this happening in the Netherlands, and you see it all throughout Europe at the moment. But we can't forget that we are a very important part of the society of a country. We are the backbone of each country. The agriculture is the baseline of a country. But we are also at the moment, especially in the Netherlands, we are a minority. So we are just a very small group of people. 2% of our country are farmers. So the 2% of the country have to feed 98% of the country. So for this reason, if it comes up to elections, we have to have support from each of the politician parties, from far left to far right, because it's not possible for us to do it via normal election to have a good vote in the system, because we are a minority. So for that reason, each of the parties should have an eye open for agriculture and for farmers. But this is not the thing at the moment. So this is a very big concern of me. And because we are the minority, the majority don't care for us. So this is a huge problem.
It is. So thank you for this introduction. I will maybe highlight a little bit rules for our viewers. So each of you will have 2 minutes to refer to the topic I will ask, and after 2 minutes, a round of each of you will express themselves. You can have some. You can raise your hand and signal me if you would like to refer to someone else, or you would like to add something. So you're going to have another time to speak, and I will give you a floor. I hope that's clear. And first question will be: do you think that situation in the Dutch for the Dutch farmers is the beginning of the end of European agriculture, because it creates a dangerous precedent? And we all know that it's clearly about expropriating farmers, about taking the lands of them, and and it's not about any care of the climate change. And in the 21st century, is it the beginning of the movements that will lead to the restriction of the farmers and restriction of the holy right to property? So maybe, Robert, we will begin from you now.
Well, for the first of all, sorry for my English, but I've made some notes to get clear through this debate. So please forgive me if I made some language mistake. Back to the question. Well, what is currently happening in the Netherlands is worrying, because of who is actually behind this reform, which is your commissioner, Frans Timmermans, has a participation and influence of the shape of the law. After all, this man was directly related to the office of the current Prime Minister of Netherlands, Mr. Frank Rutte. Is it true? It's true, of course. Mm-hmm. At the same time, the European Union is sending increasingly worrying signals to the European farmers. Increased social organization gain and a voice on the EU level, which is influence the law, is later adopted. So anything that is normal practice in the eyes of non-agricultural people may appear inappropriate. That is why it is farmers, experts who should decide. Unfortunately, the Council of the Commissioners decided for us farmers. It is people who know nothing about the agriculture, and it's everything in the same. It's called the same in every European country. Increasingly, at the EU level, resolutions are implementing decisions are adopted and then sent to our countries, and we, as a member states, are simply supposed to do them. Sorry, I get to. Even though our agriculture ministers disagree. What is happening in the Netherlands is, in my opinion, is testing how far European Union can go. That's it.
True, you fit within your time. Thank you very much. Now time for Arnold.
Yes. I'm also not so good in English, but I've making a bit notes. I don't need too much time, but I trying to get it clear. Yes, for the vast majority of agriculture production, I think it will happen if we don't take a strong stand against it. In recent years, month ideology, left-wing green ideas have been turned into laws in very short period of time, without neutral calculation on honest projections for the future. It's now becoming increasingly clear that there is an agenda behind it, with very different goals, which are not in our interest or that from the European people. The citizens want a good climate, nature, food security, animal welfare, employment, economy, democracy, energy stability, and no improvement of the countryside, that the country is not getting out of people. So that is my answer of your question.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much. And now, Jos?
Yes, hi. Yes, if I listen to this, we should all agree, because it's very clear what is happening at the moment. We can see this. But I really doubt if this is a very good, strong strategy of the European Union or people like Klaus Schwab or whomever. I'm not sure about this, because I think that the problem is that we are thinking we have a very democratic life, that we can choose via elections. We can choose whomever we want to run our country, and he will do what he promised us in the elections. But this is not happening. For example, this is not happening in the Netherlands. It's not happening in Germany. I think it's not happening all over through Europe. And the only way, if you want to get your opinion and your democratic right to be expressed at the moment, is via demonstrations. And this is quite sad, because we are going to vote, and after we vote, the democratic process should take over. But it doesn't, because we have a lot of green and left lobby organizations that could lobby for over 30 years in the European Union, in each national country. And they changed a lot for everybody, because they were using false narratives to change the opinion of the public. And they are using this only for their own benefits. They are not using this to do better for the world. They are not using this to do better for nature or climate. They are using this for their own benefits. And we can see this in a lot of left and a lot of green parties. And you can blame them for this, but you can also blame the system. I think we should fight for the democratic laws that we have in our countries, and we should demonstrate as long and as hard as we need to force the governments to listen to the people. And this is what we should do. But yes.
Okay.
Exactly 2 minutes.
If I can.
Robert, I will give you the vote after Sita, and then you can refer yourself to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah? All right. So, Sita, your turn now.
Yeah, I think that this whole strategy of the Netherlands also has a lot of to do with the Green Deal, like Robert said, from Mr. Timmermans. I am very curious with whom this Green Deal was written, because, of course, the European Commission and especially Mr. Timmermans didn't have any idea of agriculture. So the ideas have to come from somewhere. And then we see that it was, I think, anti-livestock movements who had a big influence on this. We know from the studies from the USDA, who came with a study very early after the Green Deal was publicized, that the number of people with hunger through the Green Deal would rise with 22 million people. This is opposed to what the European Commission and the European Parliament have decided, that the Green Deal or environmental measures are allowed to have. So you cannot have more hunger with the Green Deal. It's forbidden. It's already a decision of the European Commission and European Parliament together. Still, they are trying to continue this Green Deal. As we see now with the war in Ukraine, we already see inflation going up and rising to 11% in the Netherlands. So we now have a small taste of what expensive food, expensive energy, etc., will bring us. And we haven't even had the Green Deal. So I think that if policymakers use their wits, so their brains, they should reconsider, because what they are doing today is really building houses on scarce land. Land to produce food on is getting more scarce every day. And we need food because we have a growing world population. So this idea of the Netherlands with the nitrogen and CO2 or whatever should be solved with innovations. And we are able to do it with innovations. We are not only walking the streets, we are riding cars. That was also an effect of innovation, etc. We put a man on the moon. So now we need innovations to reduce nitrogen and CO2.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sita. And then Robert, you would like to
I'm very happy hearing what my friends from Holland are saying about the democratic rules, because, you know, maybe you don't know, but your Prime Minister and Mr. Frans Timmermans usually once a week they accuse Polish government we are breaking democratic rules in Poland. So there is a problem for us, for farmers watching how police treat farmers in Holland, and a prime minister who's accusing Poland about breaking democratic rules in Poland. Thank you.
Fair point. And my second question is, do you think there is a tendency in Europe that is slowly trying to reduce the agriculture and in all European countries? And how does it look like from your perspective? Let's start from the back maybe now. Yours,
right.
Your turn.
Okay. Yeah, well, I already explained in the first question that I think that there is a very strong lobby organizations, and they had a lot of time and a lot of years to do their work freely. And to the outside world, it was never visible that they do it on false ways. So you can see, for example, that the vegan industry is an industry where you can make millions of dollars, millions of euros, because each product is filled with the cheapest available ingredients at that moment. So you can interchange the ingredients every day. It's like Coca-Cola. You can use sugar from beets, you can sugar from reed, you can use whatever you want. What's the cheapest at the moment? And the turnover of these products are very high. You can use, for example, produce a vegan burger for 30 cents. In ingredients, and if tomorrow the tapioca will rise in price, you will just put in something else that's also available. for the same price. So they can always sell it for high revenue, and they make a lot of money by this. So they have a huge interest in pushing this onto people, so they can do that with taste and with commercials. If it's really tasty product and it's really nice, then people will eat it. But the problem is these products are not as good as the natural, the originals. So you can see the originals have the same base price to produce. Because they're real product. So the lobby organizations and the people behind this, they want to make big money, and they want to push this up on the people. So that's why they put a lot of money in lobbying to the European Commission that we should eat more vegan because it's better for nature. No, it's only better for the big corporations that make this money. So yes, this is my opinion.
There is a lot. You have to remember there is a lot Russians ruble in this debate in the European Union. We have to remember about this. They're putting lots of money for lobbying and because they tried before to be the biggest country who produced food.
But if I can shortly react.
Okay.
Yes, actually, it's starting to be more of a conversation. But if the simplest for the viewers, the simplest explanation is, for example, we know that Russia invested money in the lobbying against coal to use only natural gas. And of course they do this. It's very logical because they sell a lot of natural gas. So everybody can understand that they want the European Union to use only natural gas. It's very logical because they want to sell.
And they did it. And they did it.
Yeah, they did it. So they use the environmental organizations. They give them a lot of money, and they use this money to push up on the European Union to use environmental better way, natural gas. So this is also happening with food and with a lot of things. There's always a big money behind this, that's we have to be aware of this.
You're absolutely right, Jos.
Sita.
Yes, well, what we are seeing today, that it was not a democratic decision to produce less food. The Green Deal has not been decided upon by the democratic ways, because Mr. Timmermans was never voted, but it is pushed by a certain group. We do not know exactly which group, but they want to reduce the food production in Europe. And they say, well, we are going to import it from somewhere else. And a few weeks ago, I had a members meeting of the European Milk Board, and all member organizations told us what their policymakers said this last weeks and months. And they are all pushing for less food production. And they all say, we are going to import it from somewhere else. And then my question is, from where? Because we are the most important food supplier in the world. And of course, you can change something about it, but not in an instant, and especially not in a few years' time. Our system, like we have today, has grown this way since 1956, when the CAP was implemented, so the Common Agricultural Policy. And now, in a few years' time, they will change everything, they say. But the only thing that they will achieve is more hunger in the world and more worrying demonstrations, etc., because as soon as people see that they don't have food anymore, then they get angry. So I don't know what these politicians are thinking, because sometimes I think we come from another planet. But we have to have food sovereignty, not only in a few regions in the world, but in a lot of regions in the world. And this food sovereignty and really declining food production are not going together, because there is a growing population on the world, and there is less and less food production on the world. So I think we have to reconsider, especially with the situation that we have today.
And Arnold? Would you like to add something?
Yeah, now answer of your second question. Yes, we now have, among other things, red areas in Germany, where 20% of the land has to be less fertilized. So the land must be 20% less fertilized below the standard, which means significantly lower yield and poorer quality. These red areas were designated because the worst nitrate values were reported to Brussels in 2012. And even if the values are lower, this is getting better. The red areas are still increasing. Then in Germany, they want to have 30% organic farming by 2030, which is about 10% now. So another 12% less production, but organic have only the half production. In the future, Germany wants to create 10% more nature, such as flooding more land and ban the use of fertilizer and pesticides in Natura 2000 and FFH, that is a nature land. Germany also wants to significantly reduce the number of livestock in order to have more grain available for food production, which cannot really be achieved because only grass is allowed on grassland. And the quality of the grain is declining, it's getting worse, by reduced fertilization and spraying. Green Deal Farm to Fork will clearly increase this problem. That's my answer.
Now, Robert.
Well, as I have already mentioned it, in the sphere of agriculture, more and more things depend not on the decision made in Poland, but on the EU level. So we currently have a government that, apart from the huge slip up with the so-called five for animals, try to develop agriculture productions. This is evidence, for example, supplies for fertilizers. The money for this purpose came from the state budget and turned out to be valuable for Polish farmers. Unfortunately, the truth is that without the strong international cooperations from all farmers, years of constant struggle for the right to be a farmer lie ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Rita?
Yeah, to react shortly on what Arnoud was saying, the Green Deal and less production in the EU has to be done because we need to do more about nature. That is what is said. We have to produce more sustainable. But actually what is happening now is that you get what they call carbon leakage. So if we don't produce it in a very effective and efficient way, somewhere else the rainforest has to be cut down to provide other land for food production. So it's actually very unsustainable to now reduce production in Europe just as a goal, as a political goal. And as an effect, we will need to import our food from other areas, and we need to cut down forest just to produce food. Because what we are hearing very often is that we cut down the rainforest for the feed for the cattle, but actually that's not true. And we already know because soybeans are in margarine and a lot of human consumption products, and what's left over is the peels, etc., is what are the cows eating. So if you want to have a sustainable agricultural system, you should efficiently use the land that you have as much as you can in the most effective way. And then you can preserve the rainforest because we do not have to cut down trees because more people need food, because we extensify in a very unsustainable way.
Yes, that's true. Yes?
Yes, it's actually a reaction to what Robert said earlier. He said that you see now in the governments, people are not specialists in agriculture. They are just talking about agriculture, but they don't have any don't have any knowledge about agriculture. And this is actually pretty harmful, not because they don't have the knowledge, but if you interfere with some sort of natural ongoing process, a farmer isn't farming in the way he's farming because this is a stupid way of doing this. He's doing this because this is the best way. Mm-hmm. And he developed it in over years, 30 years of knowledge from sons to grandfathers to sons to fathers. They teach how to do this and they develop. Every time they do it better and better and better. You can see this in the yield for crops, but you can also see this in the milk production. It's rising because we do it more better. We take better care of the animals. We can take better care of the land, of the soils, because we are developing. But if you want to change this development to go it in another direction, this is very delicate process. You should do this very carefully. If you do it from the one moment to another, you should use a lot of specialists that can react on all the things that will happen. And now they don't have specialists. They just think, okay, let's produce in a different way, less intensive, more extensively. Yes, you can, but you should do this very slowly. Talk with farmers that have experience in this. Search for areas where it is possible. Also search for areas where it is very stupid to do it extensively. So yes, it's very stupid to produce milk in the desert, but they are doing it. Not because it's smart, but because people with big money want to show that they can do it. But this is not smart. You should produce milk in areas where there's a lot of grass. So this is natural, logical process, and our politicians are trying to interfere in this, and this is very dangerous and stupid.
Yeah, but I've talked before about politicians who they haven't got any sometimes any idea, any knowledge about agriculture.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, we should think about that to put knowledgeable people in charge of agriculture. Mm-hmm. And food independency, it's the biggest issue at the moment. And we all agree with it, that this is the main concern now, because with all these regulations and restrictions, we can expect the hunger around the world soon. So what do you think this limiting now in the contents of war on Ukraine, how it's look like from your perspective? Robert.
Well, I'm talking too much. Well, in my opinion, strategic plans and the whole stupid policy of the new Green Deal in agriculture was written before the war in the Ukraine, and it was prepared in a peacetime. The war broke out. The war is fought between typical agriculture countries, which produced and introduced food to the world market. But it has changed nothing in the approach to agriculture production. It is weird. Sorry, for me.
Yeah, and Arnold. We cannot hear you. I think you're muted.
Yeah. From the Ukraine and Russia, it's come less to Europe. But I think it's goes other ways to China and other places. They make a lot of storage. So it's getting less. I don't know how much percent, but we shall see. I'm not understand the politics, how they're doing it. I think it's for what we have many has so far been dismissed as conspiratory and far right. It's becoming more and more truly the World Economic Forum is pulling the strings of Western politics. Otherwise, I can clearly know why politics is going so wrong. Yeah, you cannot make such a bad policy for a population voluntarily without considerances, objection, unless you are rewarded by other world powers.
True. Sita?
Well, the whole thing with Ukraine, since 1917, a trade deal was implemented between EU and Ukraine. And from this moment on, you see that a lot of products are imported from the Ukraine since 1917. Really, all the graphics go straight up. So I think Europe was really counting on Ukraine to provide us with a lot of chicken meat, grains, etc., oils, etc. And now there is a war, so they hadn't anticipated on this in policy making, but they had also not anticipated on the fact that Russia could turn the tap in gas supply. So now you see that independence of food, so being independent, is very important, because you can lose energy for a day or two. You are cold, but you still can lose the energy, but you can never lose food one day. So I think that the policymakers really looked a little bit too much to Ukraine and the trade deal that they made in 2017, and really lost eye of the security, the food security for the people in Europe. And I think the people in Europe should really call upon their politicians and tell them to stop what they are trying to do in the Green Deal, because this Green Deal is already old politics. It's politics that have been run over by a war that shows us how vulnerable we are in Europe. So we need to produce our own food, and we need to invest in producing this food to make it the most efficient system, so that we can have the nature that is still there, that it can flourish. But we also need to feed the people in Europe, and that's why we need a good system. And so the Green Deal is already old politics, because we have another reality today.
If I can.
Maybe yours first, and then
okay.
Robert,
Okay.
you will have your time to refer to it.
Yes, actually, I fully agree, and because we should change. If there is something happening in the world, why you have to adapt your strategy. This is why you have strategy plans. This is why you have to develop differently because of the situation. This is normal. But I'm very afraid, because a lot of politicians and a lot of people are behind, for example, the Green Deal. And now you see that they are searching for other ways to still do the Green Deal. Because, for example, in the Netherlands, we just see that the CETA agreement was pushed upon our government. So now they have a good trade agreement with Canada. And yes, we can import from Canada really easily and freely now. And this is, for the politicians, a really good excuse, so they are not volatile and viable to the imports from, for example, Ukraine. But we see now, because of the war, there will be just a shuffle of the deck. The Putin is searching for new friends in the world where he can do his trade of gas and his trade of oils, and where he can import his food from. You see that he is talking with Bolsonaro. He's doing this with Xi Jinping. This is what is happening at the moment, and our politics are doing the same. We can't say that Putin does differently than we do. We do exactly the same at the moment. We are searching for new partners in the world that can provide us of the stuff that former Russia and Ukraine did. Mm-hmm. But it's very dangerous, because you will be volatile again, because you will depend on another country. And the strongest thing is if you depend on yourself, on your own country. And Europe is a very strong country. We have a lot of very good national, a lot of countries inside of Europe that have very good strategy points. For example, in the more north, we have a lot of energy production. We have a lot of food production in the Netherlands. We have a lot of food production in Poland. So yes, we can take care of ourselves in Europe. But then we need politicians that understand this and don't want to make good, great deals all around the world and make suffering for our civilians, because it will end in war every time.
Robert.
Okay, so as you say, for years Putin tried to addict, Western countries from the gas, and actually he did it. So that's why you have big problems with the gas. Germans, France, or Dutch people as well. And he tried to addict all Europe from the food. Unfortunately for him, the war in Ukraine broke up his plans. So we will see what will happen. There is a lot of problems in the world with the inflations, as you said before, and it's a problem for farmers all over Europe, not only in Poland, but as I hear before, all in Germany as well, and Holland as well. So we're living in very interesting times, and we will see what will happen. Unfortunately, I'm not an optimist in this case.
Yes.
You should be very optimistic, because when the country falls on their knees and there's nothing left, there's only one group of people that can save the country and the people, and these are the farmers.
The problem.
Farming production will be very important soon.
I'm trying to be, but I'm living 10 kilometers from the border with Russia.
I fully understand, but we should show the farmers all over Europe that we have a very strong connection between. We have very good agreements with Poland. We have very good with Germany. All the farmers, we are cooperating very well. And in the past, we maybe were sometimes fighting against each other on the world market, but we should stick very close to each other, and we should help the farmers, because if they get pessimistic, they will lose their jobs, they will change their jobs, and they will do differently. But then at the end, we have a big, huge problem, and we have the most beautiful job in the world. So I want to shout out to all farmers: cooperate, join the protest groups, go on the streets, fight for your right, and let us cooperate all over Europe.
Okay, yes. You're right. Together we are stronger.
Thank you.
Lovely. And Arnold, would you like to add something else? Maybe message for the farmers like yours did?
Yeah, we have a good platform in progress. We are speaking to each other every few weeks. We are with new internet. You see the news in a few minutes, what's going on in Holland. We send it to Germany or Poland. That's they can't push something under the curtain. When something bad happened, we see it. We spray the message around the world, so they can't trick us out. And that's I hope the truth is winning. But also I see, especially in Holland, the truth is not what they said or what they make. They make their own rules. And they don't ask the people, and that's the problem. But I am also a bit optimistic. Farmers are the important job there is in the world, and especially when there is a civil war or a war, then they must coming down to us.
True. And despite the fact, like Jos says, we compete every day on the European markets, now is the time, I think, to unite and to stand by each other. And so the organizations like United Agri is a good way and form to unite and to exchange information and help and support. And if there is needed, we all can stand up for each other. But the thing is, the state members and the European governments, they need to understand that as well, because we farmers know that very well now. Yeah, so maybe words from each of you to in the end, like if you want to add something, and we could shortly go till the end. Robert?
What I have to say, I'm trying to be optimistic.
Okay, so you learned something today. Thank you very much, Robert. It was Robert Nowacki from the board member of the Warmian-Mazurian Chamber of Agriculture from Poland.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We'll be soon.
Thank you. And Arnold?
I've also tell my spirit of everything, and I hope we must go on the streets and show that we are all go for the same goal. We have seen it today that 70 farmers from Germany is coming to Holland and make a good protest by how you say that, the Einwohnermeldeamt. They have melded then new name that I said in Germany they don't want us, so we go to Holland, and the Holland goes to Germany and said they don't want us anymore. So that's good stuff. What I hope is getting more and better. Also, it's not so easy. They make harvest time, but es gibt also when it's raining days we must do more, and latest in autumn in October we must make a big one to make something clear here in Europe.
True. So it was Arnold Korel, head of the LSV Mecklenburg-Vorpommern from Germany. And Sita?
Well, to add, I really want to thank all the colleagues internationally who back up the farmers in the Netherlands, because it's really heartwarming. The reactions that we have, the support that we get, the farmers who are getting to the border, I really want to thank them a lot. I also want to thank all the civilians who back us up, because we now see that we really get a citizens' movement towards food security. People understand that farmers are very important. No farmers, no food. But the motto of Farmers Defence Force, I think, is the best of all for one, and that's what we are going for.
All for one. And it was Sita van Kempema, board member of the Farmer Defence Force and the president of the Dutch Dairyman Board and the European Mill Board, and the board member of the Dutch Zuinwel NL.
Yes.
And now Jos.
Yes. Throughout all the talks of everybody, I was thinking about one thing. Working together is the best thing you have, and there is no farmer that can't cooperate with another farmer, because we are all the same bloodline. You can see this throughout Europe. Every farmer that I met in Europe lately, because of the protests and because we go throughout Europe to cooperate better, we see a lot of farmers, we speak a lot of farmers. And every time I'm surprised, lately I'm not surprised anymore, but I'm surprised how strong we can bond together, because we are all exactly the same. And this is very strong and very beautiful, and we should take care of this.
True. It was Jos Ubels, Vice President of Farmers Defence Force, and Robert.
Okay, can I say something here? The best greetings for farmers all over Europe, and especially of course for Polish farmers, and especially for Polish Twitter farmers, which is this t-shirt comes from.
Yes, Polish Twitter farmers. Because you don't know that Robert is
our group.
Very active on his group,
very active,
on the Twitter. Okay, thank you very much. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Enjoy evening.
Yeah.